So hello everyone. So from this week onwards, we are going to start with the current affairs classes, and this current affairs would be mainly related to geography section as well as environment, ecology and biodiversity section. And what I would be covering would be the news that would be from the Hindu newspaper as well as the Hindu business line newspaper. So in this case, the first news that we come across, now this came on 23rd of December in business line. Now this news was coral bleaching sweeps Lakshadweep's islands. So first, let's try to understand the concept behind that, and after that we'll come to this basic news. So first thing we are talking about is, what is coral bleaching? What is it precisely? So coral bleaching, as we know with respect to corals, now corals have a symbiotic relationship with the algae, that is zooxanthellae. And corals require certain conditions to be very specifically fulfilled for them to survive. So in this case, whenever corals are under stress, what they do is they expel zooxanthellae from their body. Now expelling zooxanthellae from their body, the corals are going to lose their color, because the color is due to the zooxanthellae algae only. So as the zooxanthellae is expelled from the body of the corals, the white color of the reef, which is made up of calcium carbonate, gets exposed. And that's where the colorful coral reefs now start turning white. This is why we call it coral bleaching. So coral bleaching is primarily or principally the corals under stress expelling zooxanthellae from their body. So in this case, the idea is under what conditions it happens. So under what conditions coral bleaching happens? The first thing, we have said that corals whenever are under stress, then this is going to happen. So corals under stress, the first thing we can say, corals have a very narrow range of temperature in which they can survive. And corals are tropical organisms. So that's where how it happens. The first thing we can say is related to global warming. Now global warming first of all is going to result into rise in the sea level, and corals effectively can survive only up to a depth of 80 meters, because that is up to where the sunlight is going to penetrate. So in this case, the global warming now is going to result in a rise in the sea level. So rise in sea level, this can impact the corals. Okay, apart from that, now the sea surface temperature changes. So sea surface temperature changes, be it abnormally high or abnormally low temperatures. Under any of these conditions, the corals are going to be under stress. Then along with that, a phenomena that we call as El Nino. About El Nino, we know that it is an ocean atmosphere coupled phenomena which takes place in the Pacific Ocean, the southern equatorial Pacific Ocean, and El Nino refers to the general warming of the waters of this region. So that's where again abnormally high temperatures of the waters, this can result in the stress in the corals. Then along with that, others are coral diseases. Then we can have marine pollution. Marine pollution resulting in coral bleaching, because corals will need clear waters. Clear waters, when we say the clear waters over here, will allow sunlight to penetrate through it, which will enable zooxanthellae to conduct photosynthesis. So these are the general conditions under which the coral bleaching can happen. This is now the basic idea about the coral bleaching, what is it and how it may be caused. Now going back to the news. What was the news telling us? That Lakshadweep corals are getting bleached. So Lakshadweep's corals are getting bleached. Now in this case, what has been identified has been three important islands, which are Kadmat Islands, Kavaratti and Kilthan Islands. These have experienced around 98% of the coral bleaching. Most importantly, in this case, what we see is this bleaching has been attributed to 4th global coral bleaching event called as GCBE 4. So up now in this case, our first idea would be about this global coral bleaching events. Okay, if it is 4th, what others have been there? And along with that, now the idea that the Kadmat Reef boasts of highest live coral cover amongst the 10 inhabited islands in Lakshadweep. This is a pure fact that we have to take care of. So in this case, when we talk about the global coral bleaching events, these global coral bleaching events, the news is saying it is a 4th global coral bleaching events. So what have been these coral bleaching events? The first global coral bleaching event. So global coral bleach event 1. Okay, this would be in 1998. So this happened in 1998, and the main reasons, in fact, if you see of all the 4 events had been the El Nino. Significantly, all these global coral bleaching events coincide with the years of El Nino. So in this case also, the reason can be cited as a major El Nino event which caused this coral bleaching. So over here in this case, if we see, okay, Indian Ocean was specifically impacted in this case, and in the regions that would be the Seychelles Island and all, okay, almost more than 90% of the coral bleaching happened. This was the first coral bleaching event. Then after that, global coral bleaching event 2. Now this event took place in 2010. This again will be attributed to the El Nino event, a major El Nino event, and in this case the affected regions included the Caribbean islands also. Then similarly, the third coral bleaching event, GCB3. Now this GCB3 has been from 2014 to 2017. Okay, the El Nino lasted for this much of time, and so there was the coral bleaching that occurred during this particular time. Now in this case, this has been related to El Nino, as well as scientists say that this also was due to the impact of global warming. So both are the results over here. Okay, and in this case what we find is the Great Barrier Reef, okay, was majorly impacted. So this is GCB4, and then we have the 4th global coral bleaching event, which is the ongoing event, and this is what has been talked about in the news. So till now there has been 4 global coral bleaching events. Each of these coincide with the El Nino years. So this is the idea of the coral bleaching event, global coral bleaching events. Now after this, the next aspect related to this that we have to talk about, okay, definitely has been where the news deals with specifically about Lakshadweep. So Lakshadweep Island Group. Lakshadweep Island Groups, if we see, this Lakshadweep Island Group are nothing but atolls. Okay, and these atolls, we know atolls have to grow on a submarine platform, and this submarine platform here is Lakshadweep Chagos Ridge. So towards the northern part of Lakshadweep Chagos Ridge, where the Lakshadweep Islands have grown. So these are the type of atolls. Now overall basic information about the Lakshadweeps, if we see, so first thing over here is Lakshadweep Islands comprises of effectively 36 islands, out of which 10 are inhabited, and whole of the Lakshadweep Island group now I can divide roughly into 3 groups. Okay, what are these 3 groups? The first group, which is the Amindivi Islands. So Amindivi Islands. Second group, that is Lakshadweep Islands, which are also called as Kannanur Islands. Okay, and the third one that we have comprises of one single okay, atoll over here called as Minicoy Island. So three groups which are there, in these three are separated by, so this one is 11th parallel. 11th parallel means the 11th degree north latitude, okay, which separates Amindivi from Lakshadweep Islands or Kannanur Islands. And then I have 9-degree channel, okay, or 9th parallel, which is a 9-degree north latitude, separating Minicoy Island from the rest. So this is the aspect related to Lakshadweep Islands. Now with Lakshadweep Islands, okay, what we can see would be the Lakshadweep Islands, the nearest, okay, place or location in mainland India to Lakshadweep Island, okay, would be Kochi or Kochi. So this is about Lakshadweep Island group. So effectively now in this case, if we again go back to the news, okay, the news now relates to what all we have to take care of, okay, would be the islands that would be Kadmat, Kavaratti and Kilthan Islands. Okay, first fact, which has experienced 98% coral bleaching. Global coral bleaching events we have done. Okay, apart from that now, we have the live coral cover. So live coral cover, we have said that live coral cover, highest live coral cover is in Kadmat Islands, 10 inhabited islands. See, these are all the things which are important for your prelims. Straightforward facts which are asked. And so this is the basic idea of this particular news. Now after this, moving on to the second news, which again came in business line on 23rd of December. And now on 23rd of December, what was this news? Why the pursuit of green hydrogen is chasing a chimera. Now this very important topic, in fact, okay, from the perspective of energy security of India, and very recently we have seen there has been a lot of talks about green hydrogen. So first thing, when we try to understand green hydrogen, what do we mean by green hydrogen? Green hydrogen primarily is the hydrogen produced from renewable sources of energy. So some energy, electricity or anything would be required to produce hydrogen, but that electricity or energy has to be produced from renewable sources, and so I'll call it green hydrogen. So overall, with respect to green hydrogen, okay, first thing what we'll see is the mission or vision in case of India with respect to green hydrogen, okay, is by 2030, okay, reaching a capacity of production of 5 million tons of green hydrogen. This is the vision, okay, of India. Now from here, if we talk about the aspect related to whether it can be reached, okay, how it would be reached, how sustainable it would be, okay, first it would be nice to check what are the views of different organizations with respect to, okay, producing this green hydrogen or reaching the goals. And in that case, the first one I am quoting is International Institute for Sustainable Development. So International Institute of Sustainable Development, what it basically says is green hydrogen, okay, would not be competitive. So green hydrogen, even if you produce, okay, it would not be cost competitive with respect to gray hydrogen. And gray hydrogen, when we say gray hydrogen, is the hydrogen produced, okay, from natural gas. So first thing it observes about the competitiveness with respect to production of the hydrogen. Okay, secondly, if I see the International Energy Agency. The International Energy Agency very recently released this Global Hydrogen Review. And under this Global Hydrogen Review, what it says is, okay, producing hydrogen from green sources, that would be green hydrogen. Okay, this production, this is almost the cost, if you say the cost of producing green hydrogen, that is almost 1.5 to 6 times. Okay, that is the hydrogen produced from fossil fuels. So now if you see, okay, what has been observed by International Institute for Sustainable Development, okay, almost similar aspect has been dealt by International Energy Agency, okay, just that it has quantified it, that is the cost would be extremely high. So overall, with respect to both of these institutions, okay, what we see is the cost of production of green hydrogen would be extremely higher. Okay, similarly, apart from that, beyond this, if you see, okay, in fact, the executive director of EIA himself has said that hydrogen, in fact, can't be seen in the present time as a fuel for today, tomorrow, or even day after tomorrow. In the near future, okay, it does not seem to be feasible. So when we say it does not seem to be feasible, the question is with respect to green hydrogen, what are the major challenges? Why it would not be feasible, and in addition to that, why it would be very challenging for India. And so in this case, the first one, if we see, okay, is with respect to the electrolyzers that are used in the production of hydrogen. Now, electrolyzers, basically, if you see in the production of hydrogen, the basic process would be, okay, breaking down the water molecule H2O, and from there getting the hydrogen. But that will require a process called as electrolysis, that is passing electricity through water. And for this purpose, electrolyzers are used. So for the electrolysis, the electrolyzers that would be used, now these electrolyzers, the material that is required from in the electrolyzers, okay, they are, okay, costly, first things, and secondly, they are mainly manufactured in China. So for India, there is over dependence on China, okay, with respect to the electrolyzers. Okay, that's the first aspect. Second aspect is the 40% of projects are in water stressed region. As I told you, water would be required, okay, for the production of hydrogen, and whatever projects have been finalized till now, all of these are water, 40% of these are water stressed region. Specifically now, if you talk about India, okay, in the case of India, India is already a water stressed country, and so this can be a major concern. And apart from that, one can argue, okay, we can use, let's say, seawater, and so as of now, okay, we do not have proper technologies to use seawater, okay, to produce hydrogen. So fresh water has to be used, and that's where the water stressed regions, okay, they would come into picture. And lastly, apart from that, the cost competitiveness. So these would be the main three challenges with respect to the production of green hydrogen. Now, when we talk about electrolyzers, so electrolyzers, I told you, okay, these are the devices which is going to drive the process of electrolysis, okay, which results in breaking of H2O and production of hydrogen. Okay, so overall electrolyzers, if we see, in this case, the electrolyzers which are used, okay, the elements or the substances which would be used to make electrolyzers, okay, first include platinum and iridium. Now, platinum and iridium would be required in a type of electrolyzer what we call as the proton exchange membrane, PEM electrolyzers. Now, proton exchange membrane electrolyzers is where there is a semi-permeable membrane, and again the same process, that is electrolyzer is going to separate hydrogen and oxygen atoms, okay, in which hydrogen atom, okay, would be passing through the membrane and collected at a separate place. So this is one of the most efficient methods, okay, with respect to production of green hydrogen. Okay, the proton exchange membrane method. And in this case, the electrolyzer that would be required for that, we will. So the first electrolyzer that we have dealt with, okay, has been, okay, the PEM, proton exchange membrane electrolyzers. And under this PEM method, okay, we have said that what we would be requiring would be platinum and iridium. Then along with that, the second one that we are dealing with, okay, has been titanium and nickel. And with titanium and nickel, the method that we are dealing with, okay, is the alkaline electrolyzer. Alkaline electrolyzer. The alkaline electrolyzer mein what we do is basically alkaline medium is used, and with this alkaline medium, now the electrolysis is done. And the third one that we deal with, okay, that is the solid oxide. The solid oxide electrolyzer, okay, in which the materials which are used is ceramic and zirconia. So this now we have to understand is mainly, okay, with respect to what are the elements that are needed, be it platinum or iridium or titanium and nickel or ceramic and zirconia. And with all of these, so with all of these now, we see that the China, okay, is the where we have major control over the global supply of these elements. And that's where the over dependence of India on China. So this is now about this particular news that we were dealing with. That is why the pursuit of green hydrogen is chasing a chimera, which means why is it not pretty much a feasible idea in the shorter run, okay, why and how it cannot be achieved, and so on so forth. After this, now moving on to the next news, okay, which was the copper vital for improving efficiency of data centers. So over here again, this news, 23rd of December, okay, Business Line newspaper has covered it. And majorly, we are going to deal here with this element that is copper. So overall, with respect to copper, the first thing that we see about copper is copper as an element, okay, has become very important in the present time. Okay, first thing, because of its property. And what is this property we are talking about? The property is mainly its high electrical conductivity as well as thermal conductivity. So due to this high thermal and electrical conductivity, it is very useful in the modern times. Now first, trying to understand about the element copper. So about the element copper, first thing, copper is found in nature mainly in the native state. So majority of the copper is found in the native state. But along with that, what we see is there are certain ores of copper also which are in use. Now these ores of copper, which are these major ores of copper? So first one, that is copper oxide. So oxide ore of copper. Now with this oxide ore of copper, okay, this is mainly copper oxide, which is called as cuprite, and cuprite is Cu2O. That is the first oxide of copper. Apart from that, now the another oxide that we find are the sulfite ores. Sulfite and sulfide ores over here. The first one in this comes up is copper glans. Copper glans, which is Cu2S, and another one that is chalcopyrite, which is CuFeS2. So these are the main ores of copper. Now, the overall uses of copper, if we see, what are the main uses of copper? So just one moment. Okay, so now when we deal with the uses of copper. So what are these uses of copper? Copper mainly, if you see, copper would be used now in electrical industry. Electrical industry में the use of the copper is with respect to its high electrical conductivity. Well, its electrical conductivity is very high and hence used in the electrical industry. In addition to that, it is used in metallurgical industry. So metallurgical industry में the basic use is due to its property, that is copper is highly malleable and ductile. So malleability and ductility, malleability would mean it can be beaten into thin sheets, and so its storage becomes very easy, as well as ductility where it can be drawn into wires, and that's the property over here with respect to the usage over here. And secondly, similarly in the electrical industry, because it has very good conductivity. So we have electrical industry, metallurgical industry. In addition to that, copper is used in the form of a number of different alloys. Okay, these alloys you must have heard of also. Okay, what are these alloys? Majorly, the alloys include, first of all, bronze. Bronze where copper is mixed with tin. So copper mixed with tin, now this gives us bronze. Apart from that, another one which is brass, which is mixing copper with zinc. So we have copper mixed with zinc now, which gives us the alloy that is bronze. And the third one that we have is what we call as nickel silver. Now nickel silver is also called as German silver. Okay, and this is primarily with nickel and zinc. This is also called as German silver. This is first of all the basic idea with respect to, okay, how it occurs, or how what are the different uses, okay, and how we find these uses, okay, with respect to different industries. Plus, along with that, again, due to this same property, okay, the property that is the good electrical conductivity or good thermal conductivity, now it is used in different industries. Say for example, defense industry, space programs use it. In the power cables, okay, copper wires are used to reduce the transmission losses. So these are the different uses with respect to copper. Now, when we talk about the distribution of copper, so distribution of copper, which are the most important regions or areas? The first region or area that I find, okay, is this region. This is very important region over here, okay, of South America, where, okay, the largest reserves of copper that we find, Chile. So Chile has largest copper reserve, and in Chile we have this particular town or the mines, okay, which now is called as Chuquicamata. This is the largest copper mine in the world, okay, and so Chuquicamata is also called as copper town of the world. So Chile over here has largest reserves of copper, okay, followed now by Peru. So यहाँ पे I have Chile and Peru in South America. Apart from that, now Australia, okay, right there up to whole of this part, okay, which is Central Australia, okay, east to Central Australia. This is another region where we find good copper reserves. Okay, then additionally going beyond that, this region overall over here is the region which we identify with Democratic Republic of Congo, okay, and reaching up to Zambia, okay, which is now called as Katanga, Zambia. Katanga, Zambia copper belt. So this Katanga, Zambia copper belt, okay, this is another region. Okay, of course, apart from that, now as I see, so over here Democratic Republic of Congo becomes a very important, okay, country with respect to copper reserves. And then I have Russia. So these are the top 5, okay, regions with respect to copper reserves, okay, which now becomes Chile, Peru, Australia, DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Russia. This is reserves part. Now going beyond that, now when I talk about the production, so production के case में very clearly we can see which are the largest producers over here. So production, in the case of production, Chile again tops. So Chile has the largest reserves of copper, as well as Chile is the largest producer of copper. Apart from Chile, now another country that we see, so Chile, if you see 5.6 MT, which is 27% of the total production. Okay, then we have Peru. So first is Chile, second is Peru with 10%. Okay, then we have the third one, okay, which is China. So China is at rank 3 in terms of production of copper, which roughly is 8%. Okay, then along with that, okay, we have the other producer, okay, including DRC, you can see 8% again. Okay, then you have USA 6%. So this is where 3, 4, 5, these are the top 5 producers of copper. So top 5 reserves, okay, we are checking again. Top 5 reserves include Chile, okay, Peru, DRC, Australia, Russia. These have top 5 reserves of copper. And in terms of copper production, if I see Chile, Peru, China, DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, and United States. These are the 5 top producers of copper. Now, with respect to India, when we talk about, okay, in case of India, what are the major reserves? So where do we find it? So India mein, okay, copper reserves are pretty much localized. And when I say localized reserves are there, in these localized reserves, okay, the regions, if I see, first one would be the Khetri region, Khetri copper mines. Khetri copper mines now is spread, is in Rajasthan and is spread across Alwar and Jhunjhunu districts of Rajasthan. So over here, the first region that I find, okay, is this part, okay, which is the Khetri region. Going beyond Khetri region, now the another region that I find is Singhbhum. So Singhbhum, it is a district. Okay, Singhbhum district is in Jharkhand. And so Singhbhum in Jharkhand. And third one is Malanjkhand. Malanjkhand region, okay, southeastern Madhya Pradesh. Okay, again there would be a district. So here Alwar and Jhanjuna districts. Here Singhbhum district of Jharkhand. And here we identify it with Betul district. Not Betul, sorry, Balaghat district. So Balaghat district, Madhya Pradesh. These are the three major regions, okay, with respect to, so over here in this case, this is the Malanjkhand part. So over here, these are the three major areas or the regions where we find copper. Now overall, if we see copper production in India, so copper production in India is not a very high, very large, and so we are majorly dependent on the imports of the copper. So with respect to India's production, when we see, okay, with India's production is basically where we are mainly dependent on imports. Ab copper ka imports takes place in two forms. First of all, the first form of that is copper concentrate. So copper concentrates, okay, are where when the copper is mined, okay, the impurities are removed from copper, and the impurities being removed from copper, now the what is remaining, okay, that is called as copper concentrate. And now copper concentrate will not have very high concentration of copper, then so that it has to be further refined. And the second one, that is refined copper. Now refined copper, so if copper concentrate has a concentration of copper somewhere around 30 to 40%, in this case now what we will see is with respect to refined copper, okay, it is almost more than 95%, 96% of the copper. So with respect to India, if we see the imports of copper concentrates have increased, okay, over the period of time, straightforward, okay, where in the last 5 years, the import of coppers have, copper concentrate has doubled, which signifies the increasing use of copper, okay, in India. Okay, at the same time, if we talk about refined copper import also has increased. And in case of refined copper specifically, we are dependent on one country, that is Japan. So now this would be very important fact with respect to prelims. Okay, that is we are majorly dependent on Japan, okay, with 80%, almost 80% of our refined copper being imported from Japan itself. So about copper, this is all what we have done till now, okay, which would be basically related to the distribution of copper, the ores of copper, the distribution of copper, global distribution of copper, production, as well as in case of India, along with the imports aspect. So this is the news related to copper. The next news that we see, okay, again from Business Line, 24th of December. Okay, and this was the news which read cold snap likely to trigger 30% drop in banana exports. So overall, when we talk about banana as a crop, because from geography perspective, okay, we are not dealing with how much is the production and all, but we have to be concerned about the geographical aspect related to banana. Okay, how much is produced, what are the conditions basically under which the banana grows. So overall, when we talk about the first thing, that is the growing conditions. the growing conditions for banana, the first thing that is banana is a tropical crop. So when we say banana is a tropical crop, it requires a significantly higher temperature. So tropical crop में temperature would be in the range of 26 degree to 30 degree Celsius. So this would be the first thing that would be required, that would be temperatures. Temperatures should be sufficiently significantly higher. And that is where if you see cold snap likely to trigger 30% drop in banana exports. So during its growth period, if the temperature drops, जैसे threshold is taken to be 14 degrees Celsius. 14 degrees Celsius, below that if it grows, it hampers, okay, extremely the growth of the banana. It can damage banana also. And so first thing, that is banana being a tropical crop. Apart from that, now rainfall over here, okay, is regular rainfall. Regular rainfall is required. I would not say very high amount of rainfall is required, but regular rainfall, okay, spread evenly through the months. And over here a general requirement would be 100 millimeters per month. Okay, this is what would be required with respect to rainfall. So it would be through the growth period evenly distributed 100 millimeters per month. Okay, then along with that, well drained soil. So well drained soil, which can be loamy soil, which would be required. Okay, then wind protection. So wind protection for banana crops. Okay, plus over here even spacing between the banana crops. So even spacings is required. And then if we talk about banana as a crop, banana is a heavy feeder. Okay, heavy feeder means it takes up very quickly, okay, the nutrients of the soil. And so regular application of fertilizers is something again which is required with respect to banana. So these are the major growing conditions with respect to this crop, that is banana. Now over here, certain facts that we see with respect to India is the first thing, that is India is the largest producer and largest exporter of banana. Okay, that's the first deal. In addition to that, the regions which majorly grow banana, okay, includes Maharashtra. महाराष्ट्र के बाद यूपी है, ओके, एपी है, कर्नाटका है. Okay, these are the main states which grow banana. And along with that, we are seeing that India is largest producer and exporter of banana. So these are the first two deals. Okay, overall, when we talk about the global production, okay, we see India as the largest producer, followed by China, Indonesia, Brazil, okay, and Ecuador. So these are the major producers of banana. And lastly, okay, with respect to prelims, okay, we would talk about one specific question in which, okay, what they do is they give you certain names, okay, with respect to a crop, and ask the question that these names or these varieties belong to which particular crop. So over here, the different varieties of bananas which are grown in India. Okay, first one, which is Robusta banana. The varieties we are talking about. So Robusta banana, this belongs to a larger family called as Cavendish. Now these Cavendish banana, these are the bananas which are mainly exported. So the main export category of export variety is Robusta banana. Okay, in addition to that, other names that you should be knowing about should be Puvan. Puvan is Mysore banana. Okay, just telling you the names, what can be asked in the examination. Okay, then we have Nendran. Nendran is Kerala banana. Then we have another one called as Monthan. Now, Monthan is the banana which majorly grows in South India. And this is the banana which is used, okay, to make food items. Specifically, if you talk about the banana chips, okay, that is where this Monthan variety of banana is used, okay, which majorly grows in South India. So these are few names that you should be aware of with respect to the prelims examination. Okay, straightforward, the names given, you have to identify, they belong to banana family. So this is with respect to this particular news that we had, that is cold snap likely to trigger 30% drop in banana exports. So over here in this case again, what you can see is majorly the facts that India is the largest banana producer. Maharashtra, UP, Andhra, Karnataka. And here is written temperature dropped below 12 degree Celsius. And what did I told you? The temperature threshold I should identify should be 14 degrees Celsius. That's the threshold. Of course, the optimum temperature is 26 degrees Celsius to 30 degree Celsius. Then we come to the next news, okay, which is a very major news that came this week, which was in the business line, okay, as well as there was then this news which The Hindu also covered on 24th of December. And both of these news, 24th December, they came and they majorly dealt with the critical minerals. तो देखिए, अब in this case of critical minerals, okay, business line reads India's search for critical minerals to boost tech clean energy industries. As well as along with that, okay, The Hindu, what it covered was India's reliance on China for critical minerals. Okay, this is what had been the news. So critical minerals. So the first thing to understand, what are critical minerals? What do we mean by critical minerals? So if we see the characteristics of critical minerals, the first characteristic is its crucial role in technology. So they play a very important role in technology. And second, they are critical minerals because they are at the risk of supply chain disruption. So risk of supply chain disruption. Now, risk of supply chain disruption would rather mean high levels of localization. High levels of localization where it is not very evenly spread across the world. So only few countries are going to export it or provide it. And so in case of any emergencies, any adverse conditions, the supply chain may be disrupted. So it's more about localization. So in this case, what the government has done, government has identified 30 critical minerals. Now, with respect to these critical minerals, overall what we see, the major minerals, okay, which we are concerned about, okay, includes, so if I check over here in this case, this news, what this news had covered, okay, had been the case of graphite, okay, that is one, okay, phosphorus, which is found in rock phosphate, that has been covered. Okay, apart from that, zirconium has been covered. So these have been the important minerals that have been discussed in this. Okay, secondly, apart from that, this is another aspect of the discussion that we are going to undertake. Okay, but first thing over here, with few minerals that have been dealt with in the article, the first one we are talking about is graphite. तो ग्रेफाइट के केस में overall if we see, graphite is one such element okay, which is used in the manufacture of electrodes. Along with electrodes, now graphite can be used as a lubricant. So solid lubricant, okay, powdered lubricant which is there. Okay, then another important use is in lithium ion batteries. And this is a very important use which makes it significant with respect to technology. So again, in this case, if I see the largest producers of graphite, okay, China comes into picture. China is the largest producer of graphite. Okay, India ke case mein the production of graphite is at very low levels. Okay, and the few areas where you will find the graphite would be, say for example, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, Tamil Nadu. These are the regions where they are found. But most importantly, the usage part, okay, which will give us an idea of why they should be considered as the critical mineral. So first, that is graphite. Apart from that, another critical element has been or critical mineral has been titanium. अब टाइटेनियम के केस में okay, already UPSC has asked the question. Okay, and titanium, most importantly, if you see the property with respect to titanium is its lightweight, non-corrosive and durable. So when we say lightweight, non-corrosive and durable, now this is where it finds its application mainly in aerospace sector. So it is used in aerospace sector. Okay, it is used in consumer goods. Consumer goods, especially if you say consumer goods with respect to consumer goods, okay, they would be used in mobiles, they would be used in jewelries, and so on so forth. So these are the applications with respect to titanium. Now titanium ke case mein major producers, if we see who are the major producers, so the major producers of titanium, okay, would include the countries like Australia, South Africa. So these are the two critical minerals that the article has been talking about. So overall, the discussion that we have to have is majorly with respect to what was the article in The Hindu was all about. And what was this article? Article was our over dependency on China. So with respect to China, okay, what we see is a majorly 6 critical minerals, okay, in the case of which our dependency on China is more than 40%. Okay, and these include bismuth, lithium, silicon, titanium, tellurium, and graphite. Okay, out of which just now I have told you about graphite and titanium. So these 6 are the critical minerals based on which we are heavily dependent on China. So the question is, what are the major constraints with respect to critical minerals for India? So overall, when we talk about the constraints, under the constraints, the first constraint comes up with respect to reserves, which is where India has very limited reserves of critical minerals. And wherever critical minerals are there, also the problem is with respect to mining it. And so overall, apart from limited resources, we have the downstream processing as another challenge. So whatever reserves are there, also extracting it and processing it, that's something where we lack. Then we have the regulatory framework challenges. And basically, in the case of regulatory framework challenges, if we see, the main ideas have been the complex regulatory frameworks, which are very complex, the rules are very complex, as well as they are not consistent. The policies keep changing. So as the policies keep changing, it is very hard or very tough, okay, for new companies to get into the process of exploration and extraction of these critical minerals. So take for example, okay, when we see, okay, the examples over here, the examples may include the case of, let's say, Odisha. Okay, Odisha, where the bauxite mines which are there in Odisha, okay, due to regulatory framework, okay, their production has come down. So overall, the regulatory framework challenges are there. Okay, plus along with that, we have technological limitations. Technological limitations. So all of these are major constraints, okay, with respect to the critical minerals in India. So overall, if we see, okay, what is government doing, and this is the most important part with respect to critical minerals, that what has been the recent developments with respect to the critical minerals. And so in this case, the first one that comes up is critical mineral mission. Now, critical mineral mission, okay, this is one mission which is going to be launched in 2025. But the idea that is, as of now we have, is where the policy is going to majorly focus on the focus on securing the essential supplies, okay, especially with respect to the technological advancement. So what critical mineral mission is going to focus upon would be majorly enhancing domestic production. So over here, whatever we have seen with respect to constraints, this is what the mission is going to, okay, cater to or address. And so the first one we are talking about is enhancing domestic production as well as securing supplies. These are two different things. Okay, securing supplies is where we know that we do not have abundance with respect to the occurrence of the critical mineral. So what needs to be done is securing the supplies, which means securing the imports. So imports have to be secured in this case and has to be diversified. So domestic production enhancement as well as securing the supplies. Okay, along with that, processing capabilities. So downstream processing, that is where we lag behind, and that is what needs to be developed now. So processing capability and R&D. So these are the four different aspects related to critical mineral mission that is going to be launched in 2025. Okay, then along with that, we have something called as the Mineral Security Partnership. A mineral security partnership may basically, this is an initiative that was led by European Union and all those countries which are dependent a lot on critical minerals, but for that also they are dependent on China. Okay, they came together to create an environment, okay, where they can secure their supplies. So over here, if you see securing supply, that is where, okay, mineral security partnership will come into picture. So mineral security partnership overall, if we see, okay, it is a coalition of 14 countries. And in this coalition of 14 countries, India is a member. So overall, if we see this, यहाँ पे EU के members would be coming. Okay, not all EU members. Okay, few EU members are there. Okay, USA is there, Canada is there. Additionally, from Asia, if you see, Japan, South Korea, India. So these would be the major members over here. Okay, UK included. So India has become a member of Mineral Security Partnership, which comprises of 14 countries, including India. Okay. In addition to that, what is in pipeline and what is being discussed right now, okay, is something called as Critical Raw Materials Club. A Critical Raw Materials Club, it is again an initiative by European Union, okay, and that is mainly a coalition of resource-rich nations, again to reduce the over-dependence on China. This is something which right now is ongoing negotiations. Okay, it has not been finalized. Most probably in the coming months it would be finalized. It should be finalized. Okay, but as of now, this is something which we are looking forward to. So Critical Raw Minerals Club. Plus, along with that, what the government has established is Kabil, okay, which is Khanij Videsh Limited. This is Khanij Videsh Limited. Now, Khanij Videsh Limited, okay, this is a joint venture between, okay, 3 state-owned, okay, mineral companies. Okay, and basically the idea is to secure the supplies. This is the name as it suggests, Khanij Videsh Limited. So this has been created to take care of securing our supplies overseas. Okay, jahan pe we will get the rights to explore as well as to extract the minerals in foreign lands. So overall, in this case, if we see already, okay, with respect to Argentina, okay, in Argentina, we have already signed a MOU for lithium. So lithium ke liye already Kabil has signed a MOU, okay, with Argentina. Okay, in other cases now we are in talks with the countries like Australia, Chile, okay, for the exploration of minerals. So this is Kabil, and these are different initiatives, government initiatives with respect to, okay, the critical minerals or overall the mineral exploration and mineral sufficiency in case of India. Now, the next news that we come across, okay, had been on 26th of December. Okay, the Hindu covered it, and it was with respect to the lapses in the disaster management bill. So the disaster management bill that was introduced, okay, by 2024 it is, okay, what has been the lapses, what has been the issues, and this would be specific to your mains examination. The first thing that we talk about, okay, would be the salient features of this bill, and under this the first one comes up is Urban and State Disaster Management Authority. The State Disaster Management Authority, so okay hai, okay, most importantly the Urban Disaster Management Authority. So Urban Disaster Management Authority at the urban level, okay, at the urban local body level, okay, a disaster management authority has to be created. So it calls for that. Secondly, okay, the committees which are there, okay, now has to be provided the statutory status. And what are these committees? Okay, first one is a National Crisis Management Committee, okay, which was there, as well as the high level committee which deals with the disaster management. So these committees were there, but now these committees have been provided with the statutory status under this act. Then we have the next change or the next salient feature, okay, has been the disaster management plans, the preparation of disaster management plan. A preparation of disaster management plans in the earlier case, when we talk about the earlier National Disaster Management Act, okay, the responsibility of preparation of disaster management plan, okay, lied with whom? The executive committees. So there was a National Executive Committee, okay, there was a State Executive Committee, okay, these were responsible for preparation of the plans. Now this responsibility has been delegated to National Disaster Management Authority, SDMA. So अब National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA and SDMA would be involved in preparation of disaster management plan, which earlier was done by the executive committees. Then plus definitely it talks about the preparation of disaster database, a comprehensive database, okay, dealing with the disasters in one particular area. Functioning of NDMA and SDMA, okay, enhancing its function, okay, would be the review aspect, which again earlier was done by executive committee. So review of the disaster management in India, okay, as well as the aspect related to the technical assistance. So technical assistance, okay, all these functions now have been assigned to NDMA and SDMA. And next one, that is the financial reforms, where the scope with respect to the funding of NDRF and SDRF. NDRF and SDRF की funding का scope has been expanded. So majorly over here, the most salient feature is the establishment of this authority, okay, which is seen as more of a decentralized approach. But along with this comes number of criticisms of this bill also. And so for us, the question that is critically analyze this bill. So critical analysis of this bill, if we see, the first one, okay, is a centralization concern. Although we have said that this should be more of a decentralization, okay, but if we see majority of the rule making powers, okay, which earlier was with executive committees and now lie with NDMA. So rule making with NDMA, this power lying with NDMA, this has raised the concern that more of the disaster management, okay, would be more centralized now. Secondly, exclusion of local bodies and elected bodies, as well as reduced role of community participation. Up in any of these cases in the new bill that has been proposed, okay, first of all, local community bodies and the role of MLAs or MPs find no mention in the bill. And that is where the local and electoral bodies exclusion, as well as when you see community participation. Now, community participation ka a very important aspect is when you talk about the earlier arrangements, when I say earlier arrangements would include, in fact, the earlier protocols like Hyogo protocol, say for example. Okay, these protocols have been mainly focusing on the community level participation, accepting the idea that community is the first responder to any disaster. Whenever disaster would happen, they are going to act first. And so there has to be a major focus on the empowerment of these communities. So in this particular bill, okay, there is no specific mention of what about the community participation. So this is a major exclusion we see, okay, if we compare it with the international norms that have been established. Plus other aspects related to the climate change, say for example, what's the role of climate change in the case of disaster, climate change induced disasters, how to deal with them, okay, how to make communities climate change resilient with respect to disaster. Again, there is a complete silence on that particular part in this bill. Then intersectional discrimination. Now, intersectional discrimination, what do we mean by this over here? Is with a disaster, the most vulnerable groups, if we see, these vulnerable groups would be women, okay, persons with disabilities. So the vulnerable groups may, during the time of disasters, okay, there is a very prevalent case of discrimination. But the bill has not addressed this particular specific idea in the case of these type of discriminations, how to deal with them or how to address this particular challenge. Resource allocation and capabilities. This is very important and interesting point, where although it has been said that we are going to create an urban disaster management authority. But the question is, urban disaster management authorities, do they have that much of resources? The level of resources, the quantum that would be needed for a proper disaster management, okay, do urban bodies have that kind of financing mechanism? And if they do not have, what is the mechanism that government is proposing? How are you going to financially empower them? So, what would be the system of resource allocation? How would you create that financial capability? That in fact always would be a question. And lastly, the lack of accountability. So when you say lack of accountability, take for example in the earlier bill, okay, there was this idea of what we identify as the minimum standard of relief. So minimum standard of relief requirement, the earlier clauses which were there related to a minimum standard ki if you are giving relief to a particular community or a particular person, okay, this is the minimum level that has to be met. But now this particular aspect has been removed. This clause has been dropped from the new bill. Okay, and being dropped from the new bill, now the question is, where is the accountability? Okay, similarly with respect to accountability, the idea of performance evaluation, the performance evaluation especially of the district authority with respect to disaster management, okay, has not been included. So now if you see in this case with respect to accountability, district authorities are not on paper accountable because there is no performance review. Okay, with respect to state governments also, with respect to, even if you say the urban bodies, which would be urban disaster management authority, there is no minimum requirement. So it is absolutely now arbitrary in nature. Whatever relief you want to provide, you can provide. There is no protection with respect to this minimum relief requirement. So overall in these cases, okay, with all these criticisms, okay, what we see is, with the salient features, I'll say the new bill which is there, okay, this is a welcome step towards decentralization, no doubt in that. But decentralization in what respect? Decentralization in terms of the disaster management at the grassroots level. Although the earlier bill also had this context in which it very clearly talked about community participation. But now giving a legal status to the urban local bodies in the form of urban disaster management authority, now that would be a welcoming step, no doubt in that. Okay, plus along with that, the idea of NDMA and SDMA involved in disaster management plan. Okay, this of course seems to be more of centralization, but it's a sort of something where those who are involved in managing the disaster, okay, they should be involved in planning the disaster management also. That has been the core idea behind this. But if we see the criticisms, definitely, okay, the bill needs some fine tunings, no doubt in that. Okay, there are good points, there are bad points, but these are some concerns which needs to be addressed. That's about this disaster management aspect. Next news was covered on 26th of December, the Hindu. Okay, and it took up a very conventional topic, I'll say, in geography, which is river interlinking project. So overall, okay, the news was related to the Ken-Betwa river interlinking project. And the Ken-Betwa interlinking project, okay, the news have said that, okay, what is the current aspect, that is the foundation stone has been laid for the project by our Prime Minister. And then political parties have their say with respect to this project. But overall, when we talk about this project, okay, river interlinking project. So river interlinking project. So river interlinking project, this idea was mooted, okay, in the early 1980s and 90s in the form of what was called as the National Perspective Plan. And the idea was linking the rivers of the country, basically where the consideration is, or the assumption is, that some parts of India are water surplus regions, whereas the other river basins are water deficit basins. If that is the case, definitely the idea would be transfer the waters from water surplus basin to water deficit basin. Now, under this river linking project, the water surplus basins, let's say water surplus basins and water deficit basins. So water surplus and water deficit, on a broader view, if I see, water surplus basins would be identified as the Himalayan rivers, and peninsular rivers, okay, which are seasonal rivers, okay, they would be recognized as the water deficit basin. And the idea is to transfer water from this to this. Now, under the project, if we see, the first thing, that is evaluation of this project. So national river linking projects. First, when I say benefits, what would be the benefits of this? The benefits, as is discussed, mainly include, first of all, flood and drought management. So when you say flood and drought management, okay, the water surplus basins, in every rainy season, they are going to experience floods. On the other hand, the water deficit basins are going to face the droughts. So if we are able to transfer the waters from the surplus basin to the deficit basin, the surplus basin would not have floods. The deficit basin would not have drought. So flood and drought management comes up as the first aspect. In addition to that, when you are going to interlink the river, you are going to do that through some channel, the connecting channel, which would be a canal or something. And so construction of this type of canal is going to create additional irrigation potential. So additional irrigation potential would be created. Plus, along with that, over here itself, hydropower generation. So hydropower generation from these channels only. These can be small hydropower projects, okay, which are going to generate hydropower. Plus, if just assume all the rivers of the country are interconnected, okay, it would be almost like the road network of India then, okay, where highways are connected by the state roads and so on and so forth. So likewise over here, the rivers which are there, if all the rivers are connected, okay, we will have a very dense network of inland waterway transportation. So inland waterway transportation will get a boost due to this. So there are a lot of benefits definitely we see with river interlinking projects. But at the same time, there are a number of challenges also or criticisms with respect to this project also. Okay, what would be the challenges or the criticisms? Okay, first thing, that is very high cost, extremely high cost involved. This would be a very costly project. Along with that, the technological challenge. अब technological challenge में the basic idea would be that the river basins are separated by what we call as water divide, which effectively would be hilly or mountainous regions. If you have to transfer the water from one river basin to another river basin, okay, now which would be inter-basin transfer. So in this case of inter-basin transfer, you will have to force the water to cross this water divide, in the case of which you will have to cut through the mountain. Okay, or in other case, you can think of pumping the water upslope and then it can flow downslope. In any of the cases, it definitely is going to be a technical challenge. So the technology involved, the technical challenge involved in inter-basin transfers, that's another aspect of this. Plus the problem with respect to submergence of land. Submergence of land, now submergence of land, okay, can be seen from two perspectives. First, the submergence of land, okay, with respect to the displacement of people. So when new areas through which the water is going to flow, okay, there would be a lot of submergence of new lands which would be there. And so what will happen to the already settled population over there? They have to be resettled somewhere else. Plus, in addition to that, the submergence of forested lands. So submergence of forested land, now that comes up as or in the form of ecological challenge. So over here in this case, what we can see is, okay, with this project, there would be threats to livelihood of a lot of people. Plus, because you are going to join two river basins through a canal or connecting channel, okay, it is going to pass through a number of different states. And that's where political consensus can be a big question, because when they would be passing through more than one state, okay, the consensus in terms of water sharing, as well as for the rivers, let's say for example Ganga river, even if you take, or Brahmaputra river, and you are taking waters out from these river basins to some other basin, okay, we have some international or obligations with respect to water sharing. So these obligations, if I take out water from river Ganga, okay, definitely our relationship with Bangladesh, when we say, okay, is going to be impacted. So the political consensus would be another challenge. And that is where the question comes now with respect to this particular project that has been the Ken-Betwa link. Now Ken-Betwa link is one of such a first project under river linking project. And in this case, what we see first of all are the basic aspects related to these rivers. So the river Ken and Betwa. So first, when we talk about these rivers, okay, you can see Ken river over here. This is the flow of Ken river, and this is the flow of Betwa. Both of these Ken and Betwa river now are tributaries of Yamuna river. That's the geographical information regarding this. Okay, plus along with that, Okay, if I see about with respect to these two rivers, both of these originate in Madhya Pradesh, from different parts of Madhya Pradesh, and you can see a link over here. Now this link is where this is the major area of concern, which is Panna Tiger Reserve. Now Panna Tiger Reserve, okay, is a very important region. Okay, why is it so? Because if you see Panna Tiger Reserve at one point of time, okay, this tiger reserve was depleted of all the tigers. Then in first of such attempts, some tigers were relocated to Panna, and these tigers populated this area, and as of now it is a very thriving zone and a success story of Project Tiger in India. Up overall, with this new project, what has been estimated is a large portion of Panna Tiger Reserve is going to be submerged, and that's where the ecological concerns are there. So major ecological concerns, if you see over here, total 9,000 hectares of total land to be submerged due to this particular project, out of which if you see, okay, 5,258 hectares of land is forested land. So that's what is the ecological concern with respect to this particular project. Okay, majorly Panna Tiger Reserve. Rest everything is what we have discussed. Ki haan, okay, it is going to create potential for hydropower generation, or new irrigation potential would be created. Okay, these benefits remain the same common benefits, but most important challenge is this ecological challenge that we are talking about. And for long we have been talking about these challenges, but as now, as the foundation stone of this project is laid, that is Ken Betwa, okay, definitely straightforward, the ecological issue comes to fore. So these have been the major news, okay, from geography or environment ecology, which were covered in this week, that is 22nd to 28th of December. I hope you found this video useful. For the next week, let's meet again in the live session, okay, on the coming Sunday. Thank you everyone for joining the session.